Reached review time with Imperial, and today's review is The Color Purple 2023. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get into it. So this movie is a remake of the original Color Purple that came out back in the 80s, and it was interesting enough to see how they would make this movie. And they took a classic movie that was from the black community, those that was 80s babies from born in the 70s, and generations before grew up or seen this movie at one time or another. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this played out in present day. The world has changed. Certain things that you could put in movies before, you might can't get away with now. But let's dive into the cast, because this had a phenomenal cast. So to start with, Fantasia Barrino plays the adult version of Celie. Taraji P. Henson plays as Suge Avery. Coleman Domingo plays as Mr. Danielle Brooks plays as Sophia. Corey Hawkins plays as Harpo. Felicia Pearl Mapasi plays as young Celie. Sierra plays as Nettie. I didn't even the adult version of Nettie. I didn't even know that was her, and she only was in at the end of the movie. Halle Bailey plays as young Nettie. Her plays as Tweet. David Allen Greer plays as Reverend Avery. Dion Cole plays as Alfonso. I didn't know that was him at first either. Louis Gossett Jr. plays as Old Mister, which is Mister's dad. Tamala Mann plays as the First Lady. To the preacher of Damon Allen Greer's character. Anybody else worthy? Okay, that's about it that I need to go over. Pretty much, it's no need to really go storyline to storyline. When you do a review on The Color Purple, to me, either you've seen it from the past or you didn't. But then again, I guess if you look at, what if you the first time you even knowing about The Color Purple, you never seen the original, so you're trying to figure out, well, what's this movie is about. So you got this, character Celie, who her and her little sister. So the movie starts off in 1902, and I give or take, Celie's about 13 around this time. She's already pregnant, and she already had a child prior to this child she's going to have. The man, Alfonso, is to believe at this time that we're watching this is her father. So you already imagining this is all wrong. Incest, getting his daughter pregnant. He pretty much got rid of the other baby that he named Olivia, that she named Olivia, and then the second child is named Adam. So it's a different time period. So I'm already hearing the whispers and the people dislike. This is a different time period, but seeing this stuff play out in present day, it doesn't sit well with people. So pretty much Alfonso gave her to Mr. And Mr. wanted Nettie, which was the younger sister, but of course she wasn't of age, and plus he said she was the smart one. She's going on to school and all that. You could have Celie. She don't look much like nothing, but she'll cook and clean for you. So Mr. took that because Mr.'s wife died and he already had 3 kids. So when you hear what he gave up Celie for, just hearing stuff like that, could definitely rub somebody the wrong way. Now now she goes through horrific hardship from that point on. Now, I guess if you go through the whole storyline, what happens, you could get in depth, but then this review could become even longer, because now the real thing is, what are you comparing from this Color Purple from the original? So some key moments in the original Color Purple that I felt that they should have had in this one. So some of the things they did carry on, key moments from the original Color Purple, and some things that they left out, but I understood why they left out. So one of the key moments in the original Color Purple, it shows Celie and Nettie's bond. So they had um, a song that they sang where they did like Patty Cake, Baker Man. Anybody that ever heard that? But they had their own song. Um, Ain't no ocean, ain't no sea, my sea. People know the song, but nevertheless, they had that, and that was I said. Now they showed them in the beginning of this movie. They had their own little um, clap, but it wasn't as powerful as this one, because the reason why I said the original was powerful, because when they did that, sung that song, and they did the clap together, and when Mr. came on to Nettie, she wouldn't let him have sex with her, and he pretty much threw Nettie out, and they were squeezing, holding each other, and he pried them apart from each other and threw Nettie out, and he started hitting Nettie with rocks and stuff. And then Celie was crying. This is a young Celie was crying, and she couldn't get out her words. And then Nettie was basically telling her like, be strong, and she was like telling Celie like, look at me, and then they was doing a clap, you know, singing a song amongst each other or whatever. That was very powerful right there. That was their bond. And of course, Mr. threw a rock at her, and she's like, you'll never be able to keep me away from my sister. So that was a powerful moment. Versus in this one, the scene was different. So it wasn't the impact when her Celie's bond was broken. It was just like, okay, the impact wasn't, impactful or whatever. And so, of course, those of us that seen the original, we're going to always do a comparison game, but why not? Because it's a remake. And when you do a remake, why not compare it to the first one? So that was a powerful moment. So it's a moment where Sophia, the actress who plays Sophia, Danielle Brooks, she did a great job playing that role. And also, let me put this out there as well. This is a musical also. So when it comes to a musical, you either going to like it or you don't. This is more like a Broadway. Either you're going to like it or you don't. So if you ask how much is dialogue, how much is the music, it's 50-50. I'm letting you know right now, it's 50-50. It's either going to be dialogue on some things and music. So it's 50-50 throughout the whole movie. But Sophia Brooks did an awesome job with Sophia. But it was a moment in the original, and they did play it out on screen, where Sophia always was hot-tempered, and she didn't take no stuff from nobody. So it was a white woman who pretty much was, her husband was the mayor, and basically said, I like colored, and basically I want you to be my maid. And she pretty much like, I ain't trying to be a maid, shoot the breeze. And that lady was persistent, didn't like the way her tone was, and she said something. The mayor came and he did try to discipline her, and Celie came and clocked him. So a bunch of them white men around, she told Celie take her kids. A bunch of the white men came around, and she was pushing and fighting everybody off, and somebody came with a gun and clocked her in her eye. Now she went to jail. Now when she got out the jail, it showed the damage that the gun did on her eye, and it stuck with her for the rest of the movie. They didn't do that on this, and they probably left that out because of the day's time. Also, it demonstrated how ruthless the Miss Millie woman that wanted her to come work for her, how ruthless she was, act like she was doing her a favor, took her dropped her off for on Thanksgiving or whenever it was. And so yeah, that part was where they kind of watered that part down. Taraji P did a good job with playing Suge Avery, in my opinion. She made it her own character, so she didn't try to make it like the original Suge Avery from the original Color Purple. She just made that her character. Fantasia, she did a good job as Silly. That's another one. She wasn't trying to be Whoopi Goldberg. She was doing her version of Silly. There was a moment, there's a song where after Silly finds out that the man that Alfonso, she thought was her dad, come to find out it was her stepdad. She thought it was her real dad. Her biological father passed away, had property, and the store was his. He already wrote it out in a will that goes to her, Nettie and Silly. The wife had it. The wife ended up she married Alfonso and she passed away. He just pretty much took it over, but he never really owned nothing. So when he died out, everything went to Silly because, of course, Nettie was over in Africa or whatever. So it was a moment where she had turned the store into a sewing store where she was making clothes, and Mr. came in, and of course, he gave her hell her whole life, but she pretty much forgave him and gave him some pants. But she sung a song after that. And so, when we hear these musical songs, we all remember Dreamgirls, and we remember the powerful moment that Jennifer Hudson had in that movie, that she captivated the audience with that song she did. So I think this song was supposed to be it for Fantasia. So hopefully when this movie is supposed to win awards, when they give Fantasia her time to shine at those award shows, that she really bring this song out and be able to release and really come out forward with that song. Because it was a moment I thought that she could have just took it up a notch, but it it was what it was. So from there, the story goes, the two kids that Fantasia had, when Nettie left and Mr. kicked her out, Nettie went working for a pastor across town. Come to find out, this pastor's wife couldn't have kids. Silly kids was given to this pastor and his wife. They end up wanting to do missionary work in Africa. So Nettie ended up going with Silly's kids over in Africa. And so she pretty much grew up with Silly's kids over in Africa. So they was bonded the whole time. But of course, Silly didn't know none of this. She was sending letters to, Nettie was sending letters to Silly, but Mr. wasn't letting her get them. And so it went from 1902. So these went year by year, different timelines. So by the time the end of the movie started at 1902, Silly was about 13 maybe. It ended about, this movie ended in 1947. By that time, Silly was about 58. And it was different time slots. It went from 1902 to 15 something, then went to 1920, then 24. It was, different things was happening in different timelines. So I got my timelines all mixed up, but I definitely know it went from 1902 to 1947. So the other key moment that I felt as though that they missed the mark on, they watered down, it was another powerful moment, original Color Purple, where Suge Avery's character, her father was a preacher. She wanted to do the blues, like R&B blues or whatever. So he looked at her as frowned upon. And they pretty much looked at Suge Avery was loose in the town and stuff like that. With her being a preacher's daughter. But she still has soul and she still could sing because she grew up in church. So it was a moment in the where the church was getting down, and Suge they were at Harpo's character. He created like a down in South where they got a party joint, party lounge where everybody go party. And she was there, but the church, you could hear them in the distance jamming. And so she was at the shack singing, but they couldn't get it because you could hear the church jamming. And she starts singing from that moment at the at the shack, the lounge party area, singing that church song from there. And everybody was gravitating to her while she's now walking to the church, and she's singing the whole way. So that was a powerful moment. And then she make it to the church, and everybody remember. She's like, right now, right now. Right. Everybody remember that moment. That was a powerful moment right there. And then she went up to her dad and said, see, daddy, sinners have soul too. And he finally embraced his daughter because he frowned upon her. Now, what they did, and that was a powerful moment in the older. So everything can. So people might critique like, well, it's not supposed to be exact like, but powerful moments. If you're gonna cover some powerful moments, this is one of the powerful moments that you should have covered as well, because you did cover other powerful moments and you did it just like it was in the original. So this is one of them. And maybe they couldn't get the rights to the song to do it full, whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, they watered it down, and what they made it look like Suge just drove up to the church while the dad was practicing on the piano, and she just came through and just started singing. And then the dad stopped for a moment, and then she told her keep going, and then she kind of finished the song, and then she hugged her dad. So the impact was watered down. And by that time, it was the end of the movie. Like they just was just trying to, okay, oh yeah, remember that part? Oh, we got to add that part in, and they just hurry up and threw that little part in, like they was packing up the movie. Because right after that, Mr. had already sold some of his land so that he could pay for Nettie and Sealy's kids to get citizenship to come back to the U.S. And they invited the whole town to a picnic on Sealy's land, and they even invited Mr. and he pretty much said, hey, I invited some people, and it was Nettie and Sealy's kids. So that was a powerful moment on that movie for her to finally, of course it was in the original as well, but in the original, they looked at Mr. from afar, and he got a chance to see that he did do good or whatever. So but he was actually at this the picnic on this one. So it was, some things they didn't do exact, and I guess you don't expect to, but if you're going to cover some powerful moments, it is powerful moments in the original. I definitely think you should have in a remake if you're going to do that. If not, make it a whole different movie. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my take. Overall, it's still a good movie to watch. It's a powerful and woman and powerful movie to watch. It's going to be a lot. This is subjective. So some people are going to like it, some people not. Some people, we're in a different time period now. So some people are going to see some of that stuff. And it was, the beating of the women. Nah, that's, me personally, I don't like slave bound movies. I don't even like these type movies, but this is like a culture classic. So I did go see it with my mom, so that was cool to revisit or whatever. So that's something that why I even checked it out. So subjective. If you don't like it, I can understand. Whatever your opinion is, you're entitled to it. But overall, out of my 4-star rating system, I give the Color Purple remake, I give it, if the original is a classic and we have to give that a 4 out of 4, and for what it was, if you take away those moments that I feel as though they should have had, I gotta give this movie a 3.5 out of 4 stars. I could go as low as a 3, but I still think the movie still did what it needed to do, even though those moments that I said that they should have had, it still did what it needed to do. I still think a new generation could see this movie and still embrace it, get a great message out of it, and have a good feel for it and take it from there. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Till next time.